It's 1879. Picture a dusty, cluttered workshop in Menlo Park, New Jersey. It's 3 in the morning, and the air is thick with the smell of chemicals and stale smoke. Men, their faces smeared with soot and their eyes red from exhaustion, move through the shadows. At the center of it all is Thomas Alva Edison. He's 32, but he looks 50. His hair is a mess. His suit is covered in chalk, and he's been napping in 15-minute bursts on a workbench, using a chemistry textbook as a pillow. The world was laughing at him. Edison had made an audacious promise. He would replace the flickering, dangerous gas lamps lighting America's homes with a safe, clean, electric light. The team had tested everything, and I mean everything. Platinum was too expensive and melted. Nickel failed. They tried cedarwood, baywood, and boxwood. They all failed. They tested fishing line, coconut hair, even a hair plucked from an associate's beard. It glowed for a second, then poof. Darkness. Morale was at an all-time low. One rainy afternoon, a young reporter waltzed into the lab. He saw the piles of junk, thousands of charred bits of bamboo, paper, and metal discarded on the floor. He saw the exhausted men and the heaps of money wasted on experiments that led nowhere. He approached Edison, who was fiddling with a vacuum pump. "Mr. Edison," the reporter said, his voice dripping with skepticism, "you've been at this for over a year. I've heard you've conducted over 9,000 experiments, tested nearly 6,000 different plants alone, and not a single one has worked." He pulled out his notebook. "Mr. Edison, wouldn't you agree it's time to give up? How does it feel to have failed 10,000 times?" The lab went silent. Everyone held their breath, expecting an explosion. Edison slowly wiped his greasy hands on a rag. He stood up straight, his blue eyes piercing through the gloom. A small, mischievous smile played on his lips. "Young man," he said, his voice raspy but steady, "I have not failed." He gestured to the pile of charred rubbish in the corner. "I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He walked over to the reporter. "I am not discouraged, because every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward. I now know thousands of things that do not make a light bulb. That means I am thousands of steps closer to the one thing that does." The reporter left, convinced Edison was a madman. But Edison went back to work. He didn't see a monument to failure. He saw a map of dead ends he no longer had to walk down. The key had narrowed the possibilities. Weeks later, on October 21st, 1879, Edison was sitting at his desk, idly playing with a button hanging by a simple piece of cotton thread. He pulled the thread loose and rolled it between his fingers. "Carbon," he thought. "It all depends on the carbon." "Bachelor," he shouted, "get the oven ready. They took a piece of ordinary cotton sewing thread, packed it with carbon powder, and baked it in a furnace until it was just a fragile, charred skeleton. The next part was the hardest. This carbonized thread was so brittle that breathing on it could turn it to dust. They carefully pumped the air out to create a vacuum. By now, the sun had set. "Ready?" Edison asked. Bachelor nodded. He threw the switch. Electricity surged into the bulb. It didn't explode. It didn't melt. It glowed. A soft, warm, orange light filled the center of the room, like a captured star in a jar. The men started to cheer, but Edison held up a hand. "Wait," he whispered. "Let's see how long it lasts." They pulled up stools and began what became known as the Death Watch, terrified to look away, waiting for the inevitable pop of failure. 1 hour passed. The light remained steady. 2 hours. Edison began to smile. 4 hours. They started betting on how long it would last. The sun began to rise, but the little light inside was still burning bright. It burned for 13.5 hours before it finally flickered and went out. Edison didn't shout. He simply stood up, stretched his back, and said, "If it can burn for 13 hours, I can make it burn for 100. And he did. Within years, Menlo Park was lit up. Then New York City. Then the nation. Then the world. You are witnessing the result of a man who refused to accept the world's definition of failure. When you're chasing a dream, starting a business, creating something new, building a better life, you will hit dead ends. You will try things that don't work. You will feel foolish, but remember the man in the soot-covered suit. A failed experiment isn't a stop sign. It's a signpost pointing you in a new direction. Data is not defeat. As long as you learn from every no, you are always making progress toward that final yes. You haven't failed. You're just finding the ways that won't work so you can find the one way that does. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you next time.